compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting has been provided by advertisement in the Cape May Star and Wave and the Herald and has been posted on the bulletin board at Township Hall.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad.
Here.
Councilmember Neville.
Here.
Councilmember Douglas.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Clark.
Here.
Mayor Beck.
Here. Okay, we move down to the budget message. Manager, would you like to read your message out?
I will. Mayor, council, ladies and gentlemen, I present to council today with a copy of the proposed municipal budget for the year 2013. The total budget is $25,951,22.76 from $24,535,193.19 in 2012. Due to several contributing factors, there will be a 2.9-cent tax increase. This means a property assessed at $100,000 would have a $29 increase for the year, or $77.25 per quarter. And in this day and age, that may be a gallon of gas. The majority of this budget increase is due to the economy and several sources. 75% of the tax increase is a direct result of an increased amount of unpaid 2012 taxes to the township, as well as a successful tax appeals by individuals that reduced our total assessed valuation by over $23 million. Due to these factors, our tax collection rate decreased from a 97.86 in 2011 to 97.21 last year, 2012. The decreased tax collection rate and revenues affected both our surplus and the reserve for uncollected taxes. The anticipated surplus decreased by $440,000. Revenue, reserve, and uncollected taxes increased by $384,976.96. Even though we've only had the collection rate at 97.21, we must pay 100% to our fire districts, our school districts, and our county tax. Our salary and wages are up by $222,641.81, which is 2.31%. New contracts will level out over the future years. We made an adjustment this year that I'll talk about in a minute. There's been a tax increase, only one tax increase of 1 penny since 2009. Council has brought new union contracts into the current economic times in this township. Our full-time employment has been reduced from 144 in 2008 to currently 129 on the payroll. The new negotiated contracts have been reduced substantially to reflect the current economic times. Police officers that used to start at $47,000 per year at a 7-year step now start at $33,000. It takes 18 steps to reach top salary. Our public works employees who used to start around $42,000 now start at $30,000. All new employees, there's no more longevity. That's something of the past. Also, the employees now under the governor's toolkit must pay and contribute towards their health care. These new contracts will reflect a substantial savings in the future years, at the same time providing all the services that you're accustomed to here in Lower Township. An additional police officer is in the academy, has been hired to bring our full-time sworn officers to 41, with 12 additional Class 2s. Council has authorized the hiring of a full-time engineer that will result in producing large savings in our engineering costs for this township. The engineer will serve the Planning and Zoning Board, deal with draining issues which we have in this community, oversee any and all road construction projects, meet with new developers to try to expedite approval process and encourage them to invest in our town, and to provide inspections for all the municipal work that's done. A public hearing is scheduled for this budget April 1st, 2013 at 6 p.m. Budget summary is attached. It's published in the Cape May Star and Wave. Copies will be available at the clerk's office starting tomorrow. At this time, I'd like to introduce Leon Costello, who is the municipal auditor for our township. Leon?
Thanks, Mike. The couple other things, in addition to what Michael just said, were that this budget does comply with all the state caps. It's a legal budget. It's one that you can send off to Trenton. It includes a state aid number of $1,563,000. On Monday, the governor gives his address on what will happen with his budget and what will happen with state aid. Right now, the assumption is not much is going to change. If you saw, or maybe it was online, I saw that he will be making cuts to the current budget because our revenues are a shortfall right now from what they projected, so there will be changes. All this will be announced on Monday. Right now, we're not anticipating that you'll lose any of that money, although there has been past years we have lost some of that money. This is the introduction of the budget, and it only means that we're starting the process. It's really the very first kickoff as far as the state cycle goes. Obviously, Lauren and Mike have been working on this for months to get it together, but officially it starts tonight. We need 3 people to say, yes, let's move on and bring this budget to the table. If you would like, on April 1st, you can make amendments to this budget in any form that you want. That's always an option as we get to April 1st, which will be the public hearing. So there's plenty of time to address any issues with it. As Mike said, the main factor in here is a lack of revenue, not a expenditure problem. You're not alone. This is pretty rampant in most towns, that fund balance is dropping, percentage of collection is dropping, appeals are going up. It's statewide, it's not just Lower Township. There is going to be a proposed law that's going to change the appeal process, which hopefully, if you think about how this works, you make your appeals on April 1st. Well, by April 1st, towns have done their budget, have struck their tax rate. So any appeal that is won is a loss of revenue to the municipality. They're trying to push the calendar back so that the appeals can be done, made part of the assessed value, so when tax is levied, it's collectible, and there won't be a loss in the revenue. It's really a backward system, and it's now become a real problem in that the devaluation of towns and properties has cost many towns way more money than you've experienced. I mean, I had 5 tax appeal cases up in Trenton in October for the local finance board to borrow money to cover the amount of money they lost for tax appeals. It's rampant. It's crazy that you can allow this system to go on and say, now that we're halfway through the year, you 7 all get a tax reduction because you appealed your property and won, and the municipality is going to suffer the loss of all that money. It really makes no sense. So if this law does come through, it would be nice, it would help ease the problem so that the appeal will take place, the new ratables will be in, you would divide the tax levy into the new ratables, and you won't lose all this money. That was just a little sideboard I had to shoot off because it's crazy the way that it works.
We are at the 2% cap,
Yes, you are.
so we have a legal budget.
Yeah, you're actually $1,711,000 under what you could spend.
Right.
I mean, that's how much you're under the spending side of it.
I can assure the council this is a frugal budget that's being presented. We've made the cuts in every area that we can, at the same time keep the same people rightfully employed. We've adjusted all the salaries to bring it into this tough economic times. We've retrofit all our buildings from fuel oil that's expensive to natural gas to reduce there. As directed by council, reduced the vehicles, got rid of a lot. We reduced 4-wheel drives that were getting 10 miles a gallon to Ford Focuses that get 38 miles to a gallon. So your fuel bill's down both with fuel oil. The only slug that I really have in the budget is the public safety buildings, costing me about $10,000 a month in utilities.
I have a lot to say about that, but I love that building.
So again, this is the process that opens it. Again, 3 votes at least to move it forward, and public hearing on April 1st. And of course, you can discuss it anytime between now and then. But you don't make any changes till April 1st. Even if you want to, you have to wait till April 1st for the public hearing.
Mayor, council, I'd like to commend our CFO, Lauren Reed. She's worked diligently We worked together, we kept the pencil sharp, made cuts every area we can, and hopefully this is going to be the adjustment year, the way I see it. We're going to, for the future, with the adjustment in salaries, the cuts that are made, I think the future hopefully will be brighter if we can sustain the same amount of a collection. These are tough times, and I'm surprised we've collected this much, Leon.
Yes. The other thing is that I can't mention names yet because they haven't introduced their budgets, and it would be awful if I told you what somebody's going to have, and that town hasn't done it yet. But you're going to see increases between 1% and 3%, 1 and 3 cents. I mean, pretty much across the board. Last night, KMA did introduce theirs. That is official. That was 1.5 cent increase.
And this council's only increased the budget by 1 penny since 2009. So this is going to be an adjustment year, Mayor, to smooth things out for the future.
Are you done, Leon?
Yes.
Okay, council? I have some things to say because I want to make sure we get that out in public, but go ahead,
I
council.
just want to thank Lauren. I've come in here at different times, and Lauren is working here, working on this budget. I've seen her almost like 16, 18 hours a day. I'm like, go home. She said, no, I'm not done. And I would like to really thank her for the work she's done on this budget.
She doesn't get overtime, does she? Okay. Then you stay in here and report.
Thanks for all the hard work, Lauren.
All right. Glenn?
I think you guys have done a great job, and each year you keep coming back with good, solid budgets. And I think everybody, our department heads, the manager, they all work together to develop a good budget for the township. So, thank you.
Well, we're coming back to you in a minute. And thank you, Lauren. I'm going to say a few things about this just because I think it needs to come out. In 2000, if you go to the Department of Treasury website, and you'll see this on there. And what it is the average residential tax bill for 2011. There's 16 municipalities in Cape May County. The average bill is $43.53. This is the state's website. And the lowest is Woodbine at $14.45. The next one is Dennis Township at $27.23. Now they both have something in common. They have no police department. That's our biggest cost. Number 3 is Lower Township at $34.05. So out of 16 municipalities on the website, New Jersey website, we're third lowest in the county. Now that's in 2011, and last year.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
That's also including us, comparing us to Upper Township, which also doesn't have a police department, and
Right.
we still have a lower property.
Still have a lower property tax. Last year we had no tax increase, so we didn't lose any ranking on here. Now, the point is, when we came, over the past few years, we've had a plan. There's an economic game plan here. And it starts with the attrition factor. Now, we went from 144 down to 128, and we hired, and we're not, going to ignore what's going on in the township. We hired another police officer. That's why it's up to 129. And hopefully, maybe next year we'll hire another one. We have some problems out there. We recognize that. And despite the fact that we're in tough economic times, we're going to make sure that we have sufficient personnel on the street to protect our people. So we hired our own engineer, which should save us money in the long run. We get it with the police officer. So that's the first thing, attrition, 144 to 128, and then up to 129. The toolkit. This council has supported the governor from day one on the toolkit, and it just has made economic reality. We have a shared health care cost. I think it was 200 and some thousand this year, which will double over the next 2 years. And for the first time, the employees are sharing the cost of health care. Our health care package is about $20,000. We have higher pension contributions coming in. But that doesn't stop, because when you look at our OE line, $50,000 was increased. Well, in OE, we put another $200,000 we had to spend towards health care, which even though the OE only went up 119, it means we cut in other areas to bolster the price of health care. Police pensions went up $50,000. Like we were talking, and then the third thing, of course, is the new contracts, this is a bump. You'll see that our contract, or our salaries and wages, went up $200,000 over last year to 9.85. However, if you go back to the preliminary budget of 2010, it was 10.35. So despite the fact that we've come a couple of years, and in 09 it was 10.174. You know, you could sit back and say, well, yeah, the economy's bad. Didn't you plan for it? The answer is we absolutely did plan for it. That's where the attrition comes in. I can't imagine where we would be right now if we still had 144 employees. You would be facing layoffs of epic proportions. But they have. We've seen this coming. And we're able to do a legal budget without having the onerous task of having to lay people off. Now we've got the contracts back in line to the point where we're now spending $33,000 for a new police officer, where a couple of years ago was $47,000. Where we're now paying $30,000 for a new laborer, where a couple of years ago or last year it was $43,000. That is not going to show up today. That has to work its way through the system so that 10 years from now you have a little bit of sanity in some of the salaries and the salaries and the schedules, the step guides. Your task is to make sure that somebody doesn't come up here in a couple of years and give it back. You have to watch. This is going to set the financial health of this township for years to come. But in order to get the concessions to get those step guides and salary schedules, we had to sign off with our current workforce. As we lose current workers, and like the last 4 police officers I think we've hired came under the 3 last year and the 1 this year come under the $33,000. After 7 years, instead of paying $90-some thousand for a police officer, we'll be paying $60,000. That will be huge for this town as we move into the future. So yes, there's a tax increase this year. And if we had the same revenue that we had gotten last year, we'd be sitting here talking about whether we could get down to 0 again. Lauren would be screaming, but we would be way down from where we are. 3/4 of this is due to a lack of revenue that we had last year we don't have this year. And you could say, well, you know, lay them off, do this. No, you can't do that. You have to have services. We need police out there. We need our people do a great job, the people we have. And they do more and more each year because we've skinnied down. Okay, so we continue here. We lost $80,000 due to the construction office at this point because of the fact that we had the construction industry has basically taken a hit. So our fees, permit fees, we can't put all that into the budget that we have in prior years. So we have to prepare for that. Like we said, the salaries and wages will stabilize, but we've got to be careful, you know, over the next couple of years that we don't lose that. We've already reduced the budget. When we did the budget hearings back in November, we had a request, which was always something that I would like to see, which is a summer camp for kids. And it was going to be $30,000. And I think our kids deserve that. And it would have been feeder money for the first couple of years just to get it up and running. We cut it. It's not the right time. Maybe in a year or two, but it would be a deal where we funded it for 2 years and then it would become self-sufficient. We don't have it right now. But it's something I think we should have. A lot of other towns do. So we understand, we do get it. The economy's bad out there. And it's the last thing we want to do is have to raise taxes. But that being said, we have an obligation to maintain the fiscal health of this town. And there is no other option. If you come up and say, cut here, cut there. I'm gonna ask you what services you want cut. Because we're at the point, when you reduce 1/8 of your workforce, you're getting down to where you're gonna start impacting the services pretty soon. So I thank Leon for it. If we were the only ones in this boat, and the scary thing is, and we're gonna talk about this when we go to the consent agenda, is a resolution involving the FEMA map. You know, how is this gonna impact tax collections? I don't know that. You know, all this insurance that's coming into our laps in the past couple of months. Maybe Leon, you know, how do you run a town like up north? They lost half their revenue, some of these towns, didn't they?
Yes, they did, and you can take, let's say you had a $4 billion rateable, and you lost half of it, became a $2 billion rateable, and let's just say that out of the 5, you're the only one that still has your house left. Well, you get to pay double the tax, because you're going to take the tax and divide it into $2 billion, not $4 billion. So you're lucky you have your home, but you're going to be unlucky if you're paying.
And then you get to pay the insurance increase.
Besides, yeah,
And I mean, you know, these are uncharted waters for it in some ways.
it's a mess.
It is a mess. And, you know, we're not trying to sugarcoat it. I thank you for your efforts. We will go back and look at this again. But, you know, we knew this, you know, for the past couple of months that it was getting dark out there. Is there any, council, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Give you a minute to get your stuff together. Go ahead.
You also have a later ordinance on there that I noticed Lauren had yellowed out. The cap bank ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, and if you read the title of that ordinance, it says, do you have the ordinance here? The ordinance says that it's an ordinance to exceed the municipal cap. You're not exceeding anything.
No, I understand.
The last part of it says, and bank. It's the bank part that you're doing. You're not exceeding anything. Like I said, you're 1,000,007 under. So when you read this, it's a state form. It's misleading. It looks like you're exceeding something, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, and you're asking for more money from the taxpayers. That's not the truth. So that's just a clarity point. When you read that title, it doesn't sound good.
Got you covered.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. I'll go back in and get to work.
See you.
Okay, papers away. I want to rent space from you, Norris. Okay, we're moving down to the consent agenda.
Approval of minutes from February
Whoa,
4th.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we gotta, the council has to talk about it. We got to do all that kind of stuff first. And are we going to discuss the support of the good senators' legislation on the bigger waters legislation of 2012? Did everybody on council get a chance to look at the resolution? Tom, did you see it? It's not on, it was sent out today. This one here, yeah, number 80, yeah. You okay with it? I'll read it out for the public so that they, Glenn, are you okay with it? Norris? Yes. It's Resolution 21380, and I just want the public to be aware of it so they can listen to it here. Whereas the bigger waters federal legislation of 2012 has the potential to severely damage the economic vitality of Cape May County through the revised FEMA maps and the increased insurance flood insurance rates for residents and second homeowners, and whereas this legislation has a 4-year time frame to accomplish these rate increases, and due to the severity of the potential impact, we request that our federal legislators seek modification of this legislation to extend the time frame and to examine the economic impact on that period. Therefore, be it resolved, the Township Council supports the good senators' efforts in requesting Congress to slow their rate increase process and to evaluate the economic consequences of this legislation. You okay with it?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, as long as everybody's with it, we'll add it on. My only comment is it's like I said before, it's uncharted waters, and it's going to be, you know, I'm not a betting man, that I was looking at the tally that passed this legislation. It may be hard to overcome this, and it's going to have an impact. It's already starting in the sense that you have People with second homes will start to see, as their insurance expires this year, they will begin, when in their bills, they'll see a 25% increase each year until it reaches the actual value or the actual cost of that insurance. For residents, you have a 2-year pass. It begins, I think, next year maybe. I might have to double check on that, I think. It says other property owners, 2014 at some time. I was told they have about a 2-year from the time it was signed before the people who are actually residents in the affected property see their increases begin. And we have, we'll talk about this in a few minutes. Any council comments on the consent agenda? And then adding that one on? Okay. We'll open it up to public comment on the consent agenda. Okay, close the public portion. Now you can work your magic.
Approval of minutes from February 4th, 2013. Resolution 2013-71 through 2013-77 and 2013-80.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve in a second?
I'll make a motion to approve as read.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. Move down to the regular agenda.
Resolution number 2013-78. This is an appointment to the Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Do I have a motion for that appointment to the zoning board?
I'll make a motion for Eric Collins.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution 2013-79. This is a contract award for the broker of record for health insurance.
Health insurance. Why don't you, council comments? Go ahead.
Mayor, we took a special look when we got into the whole subject of our health care costs and our broker. The decision about a broker is an important one because the broker is the one that goes to the carriers and seeks all the options that are available to the township as far as taking care of our health care, and then seeks to get us the best possible deal. The cost of health care for the township is over $3 million, excuse me, which is about a little over an eighth of our total spending is in health care. So we took this opportunity to get into the subject of health care. We got into a little bit of a competition in a way that we have never done before, I think, in a long time.
Absolutely correct.
And I want to say that Councilman Douglas and I were asked to sit with our team, headed up by Lauren and Karen, Margaret Vitale, Julie was involved, Colleen Crippen. We all sat at this table, and I think there were over 10 hours devoted to meetings to understand the ins and outs of our health care options. And what we're seeing is that we're getting a good education on a very important subject. And we're also seeing that there's opportunities to save money. And we have not really gone through the competition for a broker before, so we had an RFP process led by Margaret Vitale, did a very good job, and then we narrowed it down to 2 options. And then Councilman Douglas and I got into these meetings, and we realized that you want a broker that has a lot of sway and a lot of clout with these carriers, because they have to look them in the eye and they have to negotiate with them and they have to get the prices down, and they play one option against the other, and then at the end of the day get us the best possible price. We saw 2 very good brokers. We spent a lot of time with them, but we came to the decision, Glenn and I, as a recommendation to council, that the broker of record for our health care should be Marcia McLennan. And we also, at the same time, recognize that the Byrne Agency also presented a proposal to us and did a very good job. But at the end, we recommend Marcia McLennan. And as we go forward with our broker, we're going to have some opportunities to learn about how we could save money. There's opportunities with some of these options to potentially save the township down the road hundreds of thousands of dollars. And already, as a result of this discussion, we were able to get our current carrier to come down in what they originally proposed to us as far as our costs. So we're going to be looking at this going forward to potentially save hundreds of thousands of dollars additionally over time each year on healthcare.
And you know, it's one of these things that you really, I remember going back to 1998, I think my second meeting here, I caused a storm when I asked that we put the broker out for bid, kind of a deal. And it's, if you drag up old newspapers, you would see that. It seems to never end. But this is the first time that we've had any kind of an examination of the whole healthcare process costs to this extent. I mean, I don't remember ever seeing a couple council members get involved and sitting here. I think twice last week. I left here at 5 o'clock. There were people all around these tables for hours. And it was great to see, because every council person can't be involved in everything. It's just, you can't do the whole sum of things. It's impossible. The amount of work is just incredible. I think it's one of the things you're finding out the hard way, because I keep giving him everything. But that being said, I appreciate the work that our employees did, and I thank you and Glenn for all the hard work you did here, and I totally support what you've done. Okay. So is there any other council comments in reference?
We looked it over. I know that the township had gone through it, so our employees, so I talk to them occasionally, but that's what we came to. And that's going to save the township, best for the township this year. That's what we go with.
Okay, we'll open it up to public comment on this issue if anybody wishes to approach council. Okay, close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Ordinance 2013-01. An ordinance amending Chapter 90, Article 1 through 3 of the Code of the Township of Lower, 1975 as amended. This ordinance restates the establishment of the police department. This is the second reading and public hearing, and copies of this ordinance were made available to the public.
Council comments? Anybody from the public wish to comment on this ordinance? Close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Ordinance 2013-02. An ordinance amending Chapter 1 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Lower. This ordinance sets forth mandatory penalties for non-traffic offenses. This is the second reading and public hearing, and copies of this ordinance were also made available to the public.
Council comments? Public comments on this issue? Close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Ordinance 2013-03. An ordinance amending ordinance 2012-21 entitled Salary and Benefit Ordinance for the Township of Lower. This particular ordinance is adding the position of engineer to the ordinance. This is the second reading and public hearing, and this ordinance was made available to the public.
Do I have any council comments on this ordinance? Open up the public comment. Close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve? Yep.
Mr. Mayor, sorry. You have the honor of making this motion, because this was your idea.
All right. Well, I was hoping that, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. I should have voted no. All right.
Ordinance 2013-04, an ordinance amending Chapter 570 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Lower. This ordinance sets forth rules and regulations for scrapping in the township. This is the second reading and public hearing on this ordinance, and this ordinance was also made available to the public.
Okay, council comments on this ordinance. Okay, public comment on the scrappers ordinance. I see a gentleman approaching, or is he just wandering? Okay, we'll close the public portion. Are you coming to the microphone, sir? Or did you know you're taking a seat? Okay, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
I'll make a motion. Go for it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Ordinance 2013-05, an ordinance amending Chapter 600 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Lower. This ordinance sets forth the rules, regulations, and fees for rotary towing within the township. This is also the second reading and public hearing, and copies of this ordinance have been made available to the public.
Okay, council comments? Public comments on this issue. Close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Ordinance 2013-06, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a capital bank. This is an annual ordinance which is required by the state. This is the second reading and public hearing, and this ordinance has been made available to the public.
Okay. Council comments?
Remember, this is to establish the bank. We're not going near the cap.
Yeah.
And this is the one that.
Boilerplate. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Public comments? Close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
Motion approved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. Okay, we move down to the administrative reports. Do I have any council comments or questions on the administrative reports? We move to council comments. Mr. Tom?
Good luck to the two new committees. Again, thank you to the employees, the manager, the treasurer for the budget, for all the hard work, and Julie, can't forget her. Congratulations to Karen for completing and passing her
Speech.
Other than that, have a good night.
That's fine. Jim?
Yeah, as the mayor says, a lot of work involved in some of these positions, and this FEMA is such uncharted waters, and it's going to be a nightmare for some people, because especially second homeowners, if they have a mortgage and they get told that their increase is going to be 25%, and then they find out that they're 6 feet under where they're supposed to be, it could be like $2,000 a foot, and all of a sudden they might be paying $12,000 for insurance on a home that's their second home that they have a mortgage on, and just go to the bank and say, here, it's yours. But what that's going to happen for the rest of the township is the only people that'll be able to buy that piece of property is somebody come in with cash. What are they going to pay for it? Not much. So then what's it going to be worth? Not much. And that's what Leon was trying to say. All of a sudden now, the township value is nowhere close to what the books say it is. And the burden's going to be possibly borne by the rest of us that stay. So the situation, if the federal government, and it's actually going to be insurance, obviously, that drives it, because that's where the people are going to have to pay. But we've been after meetings after meetings after meetings, and it's trying to get FEMA to actually answer any questions. It hasn't happened yet. So just want everybody to know that we're trying to find out as much as we can, and as soon as we do, we'll be passing that information along.
I want to thank the members of the community have stepped forward for both the new committee, actually the new committee, and also for the Citizen Advisory board appointments. People stepped up and they want to be part of our community and work together with us and build our community and bring our community to the next level. And appreciate everyone coming forth and being part of that, and also would actually ask those in the public that still have an interest, still put your name in, put your information down for any openings that might come up on any of the boards. Please make yourself available if you're interested in being part. Also, I just want to make a comment regarding things you see in the newspaper. And one of the areas is a thing comes out, spout off, comes out each week. I know it's something, sometimes it's really funny to go look and watch some of the stuff that carrying on and goes on. But I just want to express, and I think this was expressed before by Tom, by different people in council, if people have issues with anything that the council here, the manager, any of our departments in the town, please contact us. That's why we're here. We're here to help. We give out our phone numbers. You can call the clerk's office. They'll give you our cell numbers. We'll gladly announce our cell numbers. But we're here to help. So when you read about issues that we don't hear about until we maybe read that paper or read an article or a letter to the editor, please step forward or contact us. Let us know what you need. We want to help, and that's why we were elected to do that. So please help us out to help you. Thank you.
First of all, we had a memorial service this week, Mayor, and you were there, and Manager Vole was there. We were all there, but it was in memory of David Douglas, who gave his life, and we remembered that of all this that are giving back to this township, it's our police officers that are asked sometimes not only to take a life, but sometimes they have to give a life. And 10 hours looking over healthcare considerations is just nothing compared to that, and nothing that we do compares to that. Sacrifice means that you're willing to give up something of great value for something better. And we all make sacrifices for things that we care about, but the greatest sacrifice of all is giving up your life for something you care more about, and that's your next generation. That's the people that live on, and for your township and for your country. That's the greatest. So I saw a mayor who had been there for over 20 years serving in Philadelphia, who knew full well what it means. Saw a father in Mike Vole, who was also a police officer, who also has a son that he thinks about every day as a police officer. And these two gentlemen look at our police officers like their sons in many ways and care about them in that way. And that's very, very important for a community, because these are the people that give the most, and we want to thank them for that. Never forget, never forget. I want to second what you said, Glenn, about the fact that we're there. Eileen and Manager Vole have been working on the website, and we want to make it as easy as possible for people to say, we need your help, we need you to pay attention to something. So we're going to be improving the website so that it's just really even easier to say, hey, how about those leaves? How about this? What about this? And it's going to be on the homepage of our website. Eileen and I work together to also improve the section of the website that reminds everybody all the great things we have. We talk about economic development, and part of that's tourism, so we've taken a step when you look at that to see all the great things that are in this township that we're very, very proud of. I also want to, speaking of economic development, and to second what Councilman Douglas said, a lot of people stepped forward. I was really encouraged by the number of people that stepped forward and said, I'd like to serve. John Campbell's in the audience. He stepped forward, so anything I can do to serve, I would like to. Eric Collins said the same thing. You know, serving on the zoning board takes a special talent, and he said, I'm ready for it, and I'd really like to do it. And when it came to the Economic Development Advisory Committee, we had more people interested in being involved with it than we had seats available. And so we're going to be I just wanted, if I may, Mayor, just, may I read the names?
Yeah,
The
go.
people that stepped forward. Curtis Bashall, Daniel Cohen, David Craig, Rick Weber, Mary Stewart, Larry Hume, John McNulty, Keith Loudeman, Jay Sproul, Ernie Utch III. And each of these represent business people that are in the key aspects of our community in the key industries. We have fishing, we have the marinas, we have the hospitality, we have landscapers, we have our historic and cultural community, we have our retail shop holders, shopkeepers, and as well as Cape May Winery and restaurants. So we have a broad section of people. We have bright minds. We have successful business people that have been willing to step forward. And every other month, we're going to be getting together and coming up with good ideas, vetting those ideas, and then presenting the ideas that we have going forward to council that would do one of two things: either bring more tourism, which is going to increase the jobs, improve the ability to keep the jobs that we've got because we're built on tourism, and secondly, looking for ideas to attract new kinds of industry and new kinds of jobs into our township. So those are the two things that we're going to be looking at. And finally, I just want to say thank you for everybody that watches on TV out there, because I've been looking at, noticed that the number of people are increasing each week that are watching on TV, and we want to thank you for doing that. And thank you for Eileen for getting the camera and turning it on, getting a good video.
It's also on the website.
And it's on the website. You
Channel
can,
9.
the YouTube, it's on the Channel 9, and you can come into the website and easily click through and see each of these council sessions on YouTube. Thank you.
Well done, very eloquent. Yeah, it's you know, as mayor, there's times when you go to different ceremonies, you know, like a fallen police officer, or a few years back, you know, Mike Scusa, a fallen soldier. They're tough ones to do. Congratulations, Miss Karen. I know that you've already, I'm just passing that on to you. I said I would. Okay, I see people that need to come up here, so we'll open it up to public comment. If you're with a group and you have a spokesperson, I'd prefer, you know, one at a time. I see Fred is sprinting to the microphone. Go ahead.
A quick, short question.
Go ahead.
Greg Long, Cold Spring. Will you be putting the budget on the township website? Yes.
Yeah, we would wait until the night to get the final proof.
Thank you.
Goes on in the morning.
And you can get your coffee and sit down and pull that baby apart, I'm sure. Next. Yes, sir. You wish to talk?
Yes,
Please do.
My name is Rob Marino, 13 Beach Avenue,
Yes, sir.
and I'd like to thank you again, because I've been up here a few times now, talking about the issue of Beach Avenue along the Cloverdale, and we have our group, Beach Avenue Reconstruction Group, we'll call it. So we're here again today because I guess maybe 3 months ago we started the conversation, and we're directed down a path that followed the township, FEMA, the state, the mayor, deputy mayor, pretty much all the people we needed to talk to one by one to bring this issue to light. And we did that. And we find ourselves now having pretty much landed with our last conversation with the DEP, and they issued us an emergency snow fence permit, which in the context of the big picture is really not what we're looking for. So I won't go into detail because I know you know the story, and there's no sense in going into it, but our situation really hasn't changed in that we need to do something along the beach. We have to do it. Bill and Grace's house is hanging over. It's being undermined every day. There's wind blowing under their house. My house is jutting out. We've all lost. We're talking about real estate values and loan values and the rest of it. We've all lost a large percentage of the properties. I was told by a real estate agent that my house and Bill and Grace's house may be almost unsellable at this point until they're brought into a solid situation. So I say that from the perspective of just to validate or justify the fact that on many levels, it's an important thing that we have to deal with. And after speaking with all the different agencies, pretty much we've learned that our own township and you folks are our only hope. You're our only insertion point into the system where we can get what we need. Now, we know there's a lot of money and all this involved. We heard the budget, by the way, congratulations. I love the way you're keeping it down. But we have a proposal that really, we're not asking for large amounts of money. Okay, we said it from the beginning. All the sand that we want is right in front of our houses. All the sand that used to be on the dune has slid out, 30, 40 yards into the flats, and at low tide, we look at it every day. Now, we've been watching on the news all along the coast, from New York down to Cape May Point. Even the thought of a hurricane or a northeaster coming, where the bulldozers are out there pushing sand around. We want to know why we can't do that. I mean, what is it about our situation that our situation somehow isn't, well, I won't say it isn't, it doesn't matter, but we feel that way. Why is it like, well, tough darts, guys, you can't do anything. And I'll go back a step. The DEP emergency letter that we got clearly defined more like a whole page of, and what we shall not do. Okay? And we understand how that goes. But emergency, all the rest of it, it's starting to sort of blow our minds that as we watch all this emergency this, emergency that, all this funding is supposed to go around, we see bulldozers moving sand all over the other place, and we are stuck with put up a snow fence, pay for it yourself, and don't touch any sand. So anyway, back to our proposal. At this point, we would love to see the big plan, the Corps of Engineers plan to redo the beach. Great, that's going to take years. We would like to be able to get a machine down on the beach and push some of the sand that's on the beach back up to the dune line under some kind of emergency thing that says, we don't know. I don't know what all the facilitators are that allows you to go in and ask for this and speak to someone who has the authority and the power to say, okay, we're going to let them do this time, never again, this isn't a precedent, this is an emergency, go. So we come again hat in hand to this board and say, what can we do? And again, we want to propose that you pick somebody in the group, a point man or woman that just says, okay, I'm going to push this. FEMA's got nothing. You know what I mean? We don't want anything from anybody. We just want what we already have back up.
Mr. Marino, Mr. Mayor, if I may, first thing you said about you see from Sandy Point all the way down to Push and Bolt, that's all the public stuff. This council wants to help you. I can tell you that.
I know.
We all feel handcuffed by the state of New Jersey, the DEP, yada, yada, yada. Now, what I'm going to ask you, because our public safety, our public works director, Mr. Douglas, isn't here tonight, and if I had known you were coming, I would have had him here. What I will suggest, if I may, Mayor, is if you or one of your people meet with me tomorrow, come over to the manager's office, and I'll have Mr. Douglas here. Let's see if we can put a plan together to help you out. I mean, I know the council wants to, but we all are handcuffed by the restraints that the state puts on us. But there must be a mechanism where we can help you.
We'll call DEP tomorrow.
We'll help, see if we can help you out.
If you can come down in the morning, I'll get in the room with you, and we'll do a conference call with DEP, and we'll see where we can go with it.
Good.
That's that's the best we can do. I mean, I got 1,000 balls in the air with this stuff, and it's like trying to sort them out. It's like
I know.
the FEMA's tough.
There's no money.
No.
We understand that. And
It's not like the whole coast is affected. There's only a couple segments, your area and another, that we really need help if we can. So.
Oh, that's the gentleman that read, I was going to say, if we get him invited also, because...
Well, I think that's what council would like to do, and the mayor, if we can get on it, we'll get a conference call with our friends at DEP, I use that word friends loosely, to see if we can get some relief to put our own people in there to help you, property owners.
Can we pick a time?
What time am I tomorrow, do you remember?
12:30.
12:30, so probably like 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
would be okay if you could slide in here. Are you all right with that, Mike?
Yes, sir.
And where would that
What
be?
is tomorrow?
Just come into the manager's office, and the mayor and I will meet with you, and we'll have our public works director. See if we can come up with a plan.
I like it. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right, that's the best we can do for you for now. We'll help you in every way we can. Does anybody else wish to address council? Yes, sir. Oh, Mr. Maloney. Mr. Sheps.
I'll be very brief this evening. Steve Schatz at Town Bank. First, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Douglas on his appointment to the Cape Regional. I think that's
Yeah,
terribly
that's a
important.
good thing. They got a good man up there. Well done.
We got a good man to Also, watching television, including this, and Cape May. Cape May has been making a big issue of what they pay for regional school taxes. And this is the most ridiculous thing you could imagine. And I'm putting together a paper that I hope you will put in the form of an ordinance or some document to send back to them. We are the third poorest community in the county. They are the third richest. Now, since 1980, their permanent population has dwindled to the exact number that it was at the end of the 1950 census. Okay?
Right.
Their population, total population, is very high, but it's made up of extremely wealthy people who live somewhere else.
I wonder if there'd be an appeal now if their school population had tripled during those intervening years, or would they be congratulating each other on the bargain they got?
Well, I think what you have to see, Mike, is that our population grew because I don't know a single working family with children who can afford to move into Cape May. But they move into, they're forcing the people here, and they want our people to pay for their bill. It's ridiculous.
We've deliberately kept our powder dry because if it ends up in litigation, I don't want to say anything now.
Okay.
That the advice of our solicitor that we would not want to have in paper right now as far as if it goes to court.
I'll still put the paper together.
You can do that. You're a militia. You're province.
And
You're not a professional soldier.
in Norris, just so you're aware, I was the last economic development director this county had. They turned it over to the DRBA, okay? And I read at that December 19th meeting a list of those businesses that we lost, including commuter service, which was very well. We had reserve flights going all over. We lost all kinds of business. There's a whole list. And if you don't have that list, I'll give it to you. I'll help, but I have to help from a distance, okay? Because I got a pretty full agenda right now.
Thank you, Steve. The man with the wing and a sling.
A wing and a prayer.
No wing and a sling. He launched himself, through the attic floor? Is that what happened?
Yeah, we were creating a workshop for the boat restoration work for the Monomoys, and at my age, you shouldn't be swinging from rafters, Mayor.
Ouch.
Yeah, so, yeah, Kevin Maloney, 644 Sunset Boulevard, and I represent the Cape May Maritime Museum and Education Center, and I'm here to just provide you some briefing or status on where we are. So Mayor Beck, council members, Manager Ball, and solicitor, and Julie and clerk. We have some good news, and I think we have some bad news. So I'll give you some of the good news first. Last week we met with the representatives of our friends at the DEP for Fish and Wildlife, who manage the Higby Beach Wildlife Management Site. And Director Chanda has signed the application permitting us to reconstruct the 1876 life-saving station. So that'll be moved forward to Trenton, and we're developing our site planners. And again, we have so many volunteers in our community. It's absolutely heartening and really terrific that we do have this great support. So our volunteers are creating an environmental impact statement, and typically these are thousands and thousands of dollars. Director Chen has waived the fees also for the application, which exceed $20,000. So really fortunate from that perspective. We talked about the boat restoration workshop. We're restoring the Monomoy surf boats that we acquired from the Merchant Marine Academy, and these will be used for display and for reenactments at the proposed life-saving station. And we had an open house, and 14 members of our community, volunteers, wood boat builders, showed up. And so they're ready and willing to, to begin, this restoration project. One of our other boat building activities are that we're meeting tomorrow with the Lower Regional High School representatives in the wood shop, and the Maritime Museum is proposing to purchase it's called the St. Ailes. It's a Scottish designed skiff that we're going to be working with the youth. It's a youth outreach boat building program where again the Maritime Museum will provide the expertise for these woodworkers or boat builders, and the high school will provide the instructors, the workshop, and the student apprentices. So we're going to try to have an opportunity for our young people to really get involved with the art of creating beautiful wood, these beautiful skiffs. Again, they were designed in Scotland, and they can be either rowed or sailed. So that's one of the other projects. We're continuing to work on completing our book. We have a book from Arcadia Publishing. And again, we have a number of volunteers in the community who are writers, and we have Ed Carson across the way here is doing a lot of research there. So these are all some of the good news. Some of the bad news, to kind of level set, last August, Council here passed an ordinance authorizing the community, the Township of Lower, to take ownership of the Brandywine Show Light Station should we be successful in our application. And I received a letter from the Department of the Interior from the National Park Service, and it said, Dear Mr. Maloney, the Park Service has completed a review of the application submitted for the acquisition of the Brandywine Show Light Station pursuant to the National Lighthouse Preservation Act of 2000. The application submitted by your organization and others were carefully evaluated against 4 criteria. And those were the criterion were the preservation plan and use and maintenance plan, a use plan, financial plan, and management plan for the operation of the property. And they said, based on a review and evaluation, the Park Service has concluded that the application submitted by the other applicant, the Brandywine Show Light, represents a superior program for the preservation and public use of the station. And they'll recommend that the Secretary of the Interior select them as the recipients of the Brandywine Light Station in accordance with the National Historic Lighthouse Preservation Act of 2000. They go on to say about, that they would like us to cooperate and coordinate, between the organizations. And they also specify or state that we have an opportunity to petition for a review, an administrative review, within 15 days. And we are leaning towards, towards requesting that administrative review just for the purpose of saying that the process was followed and everyone played fairly. So that's kind of where we are. And it's really not great news, but I really want to thank Council for, and all the members of the community here and the organization for, for providing that opportunity, extending themselves, for hopefully expanding this division like Councilman Douglas talked about. And we're going to continue to do that in our community here at Township of Lower. And we really, at some juncture, we want to have a maritime museum and an interpretive center here, an education center. And I think it'll be a great enhancement to the, to the community here. Again, we're all volunteers, so again, I want to thank you all for continued support here. So.
Wait a second, you're not getting out of here today. First of all, we want to thank you. You've brought a sense of energy and exuberance to this council. I'm not sure where you came from, but it's fun to watch. You have an awful lot of energy, and that lighthouse doesn't know what it missed. I mean, unless I was hoping to get my office put out there. There's people that would move my desk tomorrow. Just to have
a couple things. Kevin, I would encourage you. I'm in favor of you asking for that review. I think that's a really good idea. I think you should make them explain the criteria and how the decision was made, so you'll really understand, make sure that they understood your application correctly. Secondly, I'm sure you've seen in the paper that the open spaces are now, the county open spaces is expanding their criteria for what is appropriate for funding under that program. And they're expanding it to historical and recreational. You've seen that, I'm sure. Do you think that's something that you might want to consider approaching them on for the life-saving station, for example?
Yeah, we could, certainly, I'd be, welcome an opportunity, maybe we can make it get together and we can
Yeah.
talk about it in more detail, so, yeah.
Come in and see our grants coordinator, and we'll give her a heads up on it. And, you know, no promises, but we'll see what we can do. And I mean, the worst is they say no, but, you know, if we can put a package together in conjunction with you, we might make that task a little easier.
Okay, great, thank you for that.
Okay.
We're really excited about this youth outreach program. I think that getting the youth involved in this is going to really be a big plus for the community here. So again, I want to thank you all again. You guys are terrific, so thank you.
Thank you for your efforts. Does anybody else wish to address council? Close the public portion. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.